Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football, an episode that I am fired up to get into. And quite frankly, an episode that I hope the USC fans enjoy this episode as much as I enjoy creating this episode. Now, I was sitting here looking at this USC roster and saying, I got some hot takes about some of these players going into 2025, had an absolute blast, kind of calling my shot with some bold predictions. Best part about doing this in May, if you're a USC fan checking this video out in the middle of May, like chances are y'all got some hot takes about this football team as well going into 2025. Call your shot in the comment section. We'll probably revisit some of y'all's bold predictions at some point down the road. Fired up to get into it. Before we do, and as always, to the USC fans, I just want to say thank you to you guys. Y'all know how much fun I've had talking this football team, whether we're talking the recruiting trail, whether we're talking spring ball. Appreciate you guys more than y'all know in terms of the support y'all have shown. If you guys do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Let it fly in the comment section. Without further ado, my bold predictions for this USC team going into 2025. Number one, Mekhi Lemon, Jacoby Lane, both go for over 1,000 yards in the 2025 college football season. And look, I don't even know how bold this prediction is, because I look at this and say this is one of the best wide receiver duos in the country. And I think clearly the two best wide receivers on this football team. I go back to 2024. This is what makes me so confident that this happens in the 2025 years. Look, I thought it was pretty obvious that Jacoby Lane and Mekhi Lemon were your best wide receivers in the 2024 season. I don't think the coaching staff realized this until the back half of the year. Like in the months of September and October, Lincoln Riley was desperately trying to get guys like Zachariah Branch and Deuce Robinson involved in this offense. And look, I don't necessarily fault Lincoln Riley for doing so. You know, it's Deuce Robinson, Zachariah Branch, five-star prospects for a reason. But it kind of took away from, hey, let's go make sure our two best players are involved in a big-time way in this offense. Now, once USC realized this in the back half of the year, it was the Jacoby Lane and Mekhi Lemon show, and rightfully so. I look back at the target distribution in the 2024 year. Who do you think had the most targets on this USC team in the 2024 year? It wasn't Mekhi Lemon and it wasn't Jacoby Lane. It was Zachariah Branch, which I think was a colossal mistake by Lincoln Riley. I think going into 2025, you're probably looking at 90 plus targets for both Jacoby Lane and Mekhi Lemon. If that comes true and both of those wide receivers get targeted 90 plus times, they're both going for 1,000. They're both comfortably going for 1,000 yards. And what I love about this wide receiver duo, just about as much as I love any wide receiver duo in the country, is because they complement each other exceptionally well. Like, what is Jacoby Lane special at? Working vertically down the field, winning those 50-50 balls. What is Mekhi Lemon special at? Creating separation, yards after the catch. You have two really unique skill sets that allow you to attack defenses in a lot of different ways. Mekhi Lemon was a dog last year. What I'm excited for with Jacoby Lane is it sounds like this spring practice session felt a little bit different for Jacoby Lane, kind of took another step. He was really good in 2024. Sounds like he's going to even be better in 2025. What I'm most excited for with Jacoby Lane is, can it become a little bit easier for him in terms of his route running and separation? You know, at times last year, it felt like maybe a little too reliant on those 50-50 contested catch opportunities, which, look, I loved having a wide receiver that can go make those plays happen. Can we make it a little bit easier on ourselves? It sounds like the route running has taken a step. The nuance in terms of how to create separation is probably going to get a little bit better. Massive news for Jacoby Lane, who I think is really underrated in terms of what he can do with the football in his hands. And I hope USC uses him a little bit more in terms of a yards after the catch guy. You know, I felt like there was so much attention put on Zachariah Branch, like get him the ball, get him the ball, get him the ball. Jacoby Lane and Mekhi Lemon can give you just as much juice after the catch in the 2025 year. And I think that is probably the mindset that Lincoln Riley is in going into the 2025 year. I think it was probably a tricky situation for Lincoln Riley, because, you know, there was a lot of money going to Zachariah Branch. There was a lot of money going to Deuce Robinson, and there was probably a little bit of pressure. And I'm not saying this should be the case, but I'm probably saying it was probably a little bit of the case. It's like we're paying all these guys so much money. We want to use him when it's like, hey, Mekhi Lemon, Jacoby Lane, clearly the best two wide receivers on this team. I think Lincoln Riley knows that, and you're going to see them both heavily involved in this offense in 2025. Number two, three first team all Big Ten selections in the 2025 season. Now, why is this a bold prediction? USC had 0 last year. Now, Woody Marks arguably could have been a first team all Big Ten selection. I believe those went to both the Penn State running backs last year. Who's it going to be? I feel like I got a chance to get a couple of guys in. I think it might start with the quarterback. Now, the Big Ten this year, you got some massive question marks at the quarterback position. I'm not necessarily saying Jaden is my pick to be the first team all Big Ten quarterback. I wouldn't be surprised. Like, it's not a crazy statement to make to say, hey, Lincoln Riley has the best quarterback in the Big Ten. So Jaden certainly has an opportunity. Both Jacoby Lane and Mekhi Lemon would probably be my picks to be first team all Big Ten guys. I think Elijah Page at left tackle certainly has the possibility. You go to the defensive side of the football real quick. Cam Fountain, certainly a possibility. Eric Gentry would probably be my pick to be a first team all Big Ten guy. And Kamari Ramsey probably would be my pick to be a first team all Big Ten guy. Last year at times, it felt like USC maybe just didn't have that top end talent at certain positions. I think they have some of the best players in the conference at certain positions, and that will help them in the 2025 season. Number three, and this one's a little bit vague, and I wasn't necessarily sure who to pick. And so I just said, hey, a young tight end steps up. I feel this way for a couple of different reasons. Number one, I think USC is probably going to lean into a little bit more 12 personnel, meaning there's going to be 2 tight ends on the football field. Lake McCrew is probably going to be one of them. Who's the other guy? Like, I look at the ceiling of all 3 of these young tight ends, whether it's Walker Lyons, whether it's Joey Olsen, whether it's Walter Matthews, and say they all have the opportunity to be difference makers. Now, which one is it going to be? It's kind of hard to tell. My pick probably would be Walker Lyons, who was getting a little bit involved late. The dark horse for me is Joey Olsen. Now, the thing with Joey Olsen was he was a wide receiver coming out of high school, did not have a ton of inline experience, was a little bit of an undersized tight end. I believe he got to USC at only 220 pounds. I think he's the most dangerous pass catcher out of the tight end room. It's just you can't get on the football field until you are ready to get it done as an inline blocker. If Joey Olsen is ready to do it physically in 2025, I think there is some big time upside to Joey Olsen's game. And then I look at Walter Matthews and say, massive tight end who I think can provide a ton of value in the run game, but also a really big catch radius that can provide a ton of value in the red zone. All of these tight ends bring a little something different to this room. Which one is going to kind of, capitalize on what I think will be a little bit more increased opportunity? I think one of them does. I'm just not sure which one of them to pick, so I kind of left that a little vague, you might say. Defensive side of the football, Cam Fountain, A+ sacks. USC is looking for a difference maker in the pass rush. I think you got a couple of options on the inside. I think Anthony Lucas and Braylon Shelby certainly could be those dudes. Give me Cam Fountain. And the crazy part about Cam Fountain, he only played 19 snaps the first 6 weeks of the season. Really only started being a legitimate part of the rotation in that Rutgers game on Friday night. And ever since he kind of got in the rotation, he eventually started the whole way down the stretch. Emerged as probably the best pass rusher on this USC football team late in the season as a true freshman, physically extremely gifted. Now at year 2, you're looking for a little bit more nuance in the pass rush game. We know you physically can go make it happen at the highest level. Can you add a little bit more technicalities to the pass rush toolkit? Technicalities to the pass rush toolkit, probably not the best way of saying it. Can you add a little bit more nuance to your game to make that step and really be a sack artist going into year 2? We talk about it all the time. This USC defense, if they want to take a year 2 step with Danton Lynn, got to get after the passer with your front 4. Who is that going to come from? My pick would be Cam Fountain, A+ sacks. He's a guy that really emerged last year. I think he just kind of takes, if he just picks up where he left off from the back half of the 2024 year, you're looking at one of the better edge rushers in the Big Ten. Another one that I don't even know if it's all that bold. Look, if Eric Gentry stays healthy, he's one of the best linebackers in the country. 100+ tackles and 15 tackles for loss. Now, originally, I just had Eric Gentry going for 100 plus tackles. I don't think that's all that bold. This was a guy that only played in 4.5 games last year and had almost 40 tackles, was fifth on the team in tackles last year. I think the take that I want to kind of hammer home here is the 15 plus tackles for loss. Year 2 with Dantlin, having a better feeling of how to use Eric Gentry, whether it's coming off the edge, whether it's as an off-ball linebacker. When we saw Eric Gentry last year, Dantlin was getting to work with him. Now you're going into year 2 with a better understanding of how to use this defensive chess piece. I think what you're looking for to do with Eric Gentry is make him more than just an off-ball linebacker. We know he's going to be one of the best off-ball linebackers in the country in 2025. How can we allow him to have a bigger impact on the game? I'm not making the comp to Abdul Carter at Penn State, but that's what Tom Allen did with Abdul Carter. Look, Abdul Carter was the best off-ball linebacker in the country in the 2024 or 2023 year. He was going into year 3. Said, hey, he's our best football player on defense. How can we give him more opportunities to really take over football games? Let him rush the passer off the edge, and he was the best in the country at doing so. I'm not saying Eric Gentry is going to rush off the edge every single snap, kind of like Abdul Carter did. But let's go let it rip, and let's go allow him to create more negative plays for this USC team. Going back to our conversation about creating more sacks, Eric Gentry can do that at the off-ball linebacker position. Last one I'll put in, top 30 defense in the country, which I think to a lot of casual college football fans that aren't that in tune with this football team are probably laughing at this take. I would remind the non-USC fans, I think every USC fan listening to this probably knows it, the non-USC fans who are listening, who have made it to 12 minutes, which probably not many of them, this defense was top 50 in the country last year. It took a meaningful step in the right direction in 2024, year 1 under Dan Lynn. So not only are you going year 2 under Dan Lynn, I think he has by far better personnel to work with in the 2025 season as well. It's not crazy to say, hey, this USC team was the worst in the Power 4 in 2023, like an absolute joke, and was respectable in 2024. If they take another step, they're a top 30 defense in the country, ain't no question about it. Year 2 with Danton Lynn, better personnel. I'm all for this take going into 2025. That'll do it for me right now. I think we might run another one of these episodes back because they were kind of fun to put together. Appreciate you guys rocking with it. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.